afternoon, friends, patriots, and fellow truth seekers. Welcome to another episode of the Ryan Samuels Show, where we cut through the spin, the media narratives, the excuses, and the politically correct fog to deliver straight talk on the issues shaping our families, our communities, and our nation. I am your host, Ryan Samuels, unapologetic conservative voice standing for family, faith, and freedom. Today, we're confronting a heartbreaking tragedy that unfolded at a high school track meet and the justice delivered in its aftermath. The story of 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, a promising athlete, football standout, twin brother, son, and friend, whose life was violently cut short, and the accountability handed down to Karmelo Anthony, I believe, was right and just today. This case has gripped the country, ignited passionate debates, and compels us to examine the facts, personal responsibility, and the broader patterns of youth violence that plague too many American communities. We'll lay out every verified detail from the incident through the trial, then speak plainly about what it reveals, including how media and activist narratives have turned individual tragedy into another racial flashpoint, and what the handling of support funds says about deep cultural priorities. Let's start with the facts of this entire case. On April 2nd of 2025, at Kukendale Stadium in Frisco, Texas, a prosperous Dallas suburb, athletes from several high schools competed in a district track and field meet. When thunderstorms moved in, they brought heavy rain, and they forced competitors to seek shelter under team tents in the bleachers. Karmelo Anthony then was only 17 and a student at Centennial High School. He entered the Memorial High School team tent. This was not his own team's designated space. Austin Metcalf, a junior at Memorial, standout linebacker on the football team, track athlete with strong academics and college plans ahead, along with his twin brother Hunter, asked Anthony to leave their tent. It was their team's area during the rain delay. Witnesses described the situation escalating into a verbal argument. Anthony reached into his backpack and issued a warning to the effect of, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin and his brother, described as larger build, pushed or shoved Anthony to get him out of the tent. Anthony then pulled a knife from his bag and stabbed Austin once in the chest. He fled the scene as chaos erupted. Austin was rushed to the hospital, but succumbed to the fatal wound. Anthony later turned himself in to authorities. Both of these guys were only 17 at the time. They came from families supporting their futures, had no prior criminal records, and had never met before that day. This was not a long-standing feud. It was a sudden, avoidable confrontation over something as simple as shelter space in the rain. The trial in Collin County began in early June 2026. Over the course of the week, jurors heard from dozens of eyewitnesses, fellow students who saw it unfold, plus investigators, medical experts, and others. The defense argued self-defense, citing the size difference between Anthony and the Metcalf brothers, and claiming fear for his own safety. Prosecutors countered that Anthony had no right to introduce a deadly weapon into the non-lethal scuffle, especially after allegedly provoking the physical response by refusing to leave and issuing threats. On June 9th, roughly 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found Karmelo Anthony guilty of first-degree murder. The same jury then sentenced him to 35 years in prison later that day. He was tried as an adult under Texas law. The jury rejected the self-defense claim and any reduction under sudden passion. Anthony, now 19, will be eligible for parole after serving approximately half that sentence. He has since been transferred to the Texas Department of Justice. The evidence was compelling. Multiple independent accounts, the physical knife, Anthony's flight from the scene, and medical testimony left the room for doubt. This was not some ambiguous gray area. It was a clear case of deadly overreaction with tragic consequences. Austin Metcalf is gone forever. A twin brother without his other half. Parents Jeff and the rest of the family left to grieve a son full of potential. Stolen in an instant over something as trivial as tent space in the rain. Impact statements in the court captured the profound pain, lives forever altered, dreams shattered, a community mourning one of its own who was simply trying to stay dry and compete. This strikes deep for anyone who values life and safety. Young people are sent to school events, sports, and activities hoping they build memories, friendships, and character, not face deadly violence from a complete stranger over nothing. Prayers are with the Metcalf family. No family should have to bury a loved one this way. Austin represented the promise of hard work on the field and in the classroom, now lost to one impulsive, irreversible decision. This case drew intense racial attention because Karmelo Anthony is black and Austin Metcalf is white. In court, it was framed as a matter of right and wrong, evidence and actions, not race. Metcalf's own father emphasized this, offering personal forgiveness to Anthony while insisting it was about accountability and not skin color. Outside the courtroom, however, activists, influencers, some media outlets, left-leaning voices, and even celebrities like Cardi B immediately injected division. They turned a clear-cut case of a knife in a teenage scuffle into another chapter in a perpetual race war narrative that doesn't exist, portraying the perpetrator as the real victim of systemic forces, white supremacy, or injustice, while downplaying or outright ignoring Austin's stolen life and the jury's verdict based on facts. This is the constant, predictable pattern we see from the left and much of the mainstream media. The narrative that minorities, particularly black Americans, can do no wrong and are perpetual victors no matter the circumstance. Every incident, from school fights to criminal acts, gets twisted into proof of oppression. Behavior that would be condemned outright if committed by someone else is excused, contextualized, or blamed on the system. They empower a mindset where accountability takes a backseat to grievance. Personal responsibility is replaced by collective blame on society and whiteness, or historical injustices. And young people are taught they are powerless victims rather than capable agents of their own destiny. Adding fuel to the fire, Karmelo Anthony's family launched a serious Give, Send, Go fundraiser that raised over $600,000, with reports citing figures around $612,000 to $630,000, supposedly for legal defense, family security, relocation, and related needs. Supporters donated generously from their own pockets, believing it would secure the best possible representation and help the family. Yet despite this massive sum, Anthony was deemed indigent and ended up represented by a public defender. Reports and public backlash highlighted concerns over how funds were handled, with rumors and donors frustrated, pointing to significant portions allegedly spent on personal luxuries like housing, vehicles, or other expenses, rather than the promised robust legal defense. Even as the trial proceeded and conviction came down, donations continued to trickle in. The optics are troubling and revealing. This mismanagement isn't poor financial stewardship. It speaks volumes about the family's priorities and the cultural environment in which Karmelo was raised. When hundreds of thousands of dollars flow in for a son's defense, and yet the focus appears to shift towards personal gain or immediate comfort instead of investing every possible resource into the best legal team or addressing root issues, it reflects misplaced values. It suggests a household where short-term gratification or grievance takes precedence over long-term discipline, sacrifice, and accountability. Proper raising of a young man involves teaching foresight, responsibility, and that actions have consequences, not modeling a mindset where external support becomes an opportunity for personal benefit while the core crisis festers. This kind of approach contributes to the very patterns we see. Young people who escalate conflicts with weapons instead of internalizing restraint, respect for others' space, and conflict de-escalation from strong parental guidance. It underscores how certain cultural breakdowns, prioritizing narratives of victimhood over building character, family stability, and moral formation, fail the next generation. Family spokespeople, including Minister Dominique Alexander, didn't hold back on racialized comments. He launched into tirades about fighting white supremacy, directly addressing racists and bigots, supposedly targeting the family and framing the case through a lens of racial persecution rather than stabbing itself. Protests outside the courthouse included ugly rhetoric and online discourse, exploded the comparisons to other cases of accusations of systematic bias. This kind of inflammatory language fits perfect into the left's playbook of turning every tragedy into a racial grievance, inflaming tensions instead of promoting healing or reflection. We must address the uncomfortable realities with honesty and data. The FBI and the CDC crime statistics consistently show that Black Americans, about 13 to 14% of the U.S. population, are disproportionately involved as both perpetrators and victims of homicides. The Black community kills people at disproportionately high rates. And in many cases, segments of that community and their advocates try to get away with it by framing perpetrators as victims and pushing racial narratives to evade accountability. The overwhelming majority of these tragedies are Black-on-Black violence in urban areas like Chicago, Baltimore, and others, claiming far more young Black lives year after year than interracial cases like this one. These are not abstract numbers. They represent real children, real families destroyed by cycles of violence that receive far less sustained national outrage or fundraising. This isn't about collective blame or inherent traits. The vast majority of Black Americans are decent, hardworking people raising families, contributing to society, chasing the American dream just like everyone else. The crisis stems from cultural, social breakdowns in specific segments, alarmingly high rates of fatherless homes, the pervasive influence of certain music, media, entertainment, and social circus that glorify retaliation, street cred violence, and keeping it real, instead of restraint, achievement, and de-escalation. And a pattern where some voices reflexively defend or downplay criminal acts when the perpetrator shares their race while rushing to racialized incidents that courts treat as straightforward. The left's victimhood narrative supercharges this dynamic by constantly signaling that Black individuals are oppressed victims who can conduct themselves however they want without full consequences, that the system is rigged, police are the enemy, and personal failings are always external. It disempowers a personal agency and responsibility. It tells young men like Karmelo Anthony that escalating a verbal dispute with a knife might be understandable in context, rather than teaching them the universal truth. Walk away, seek help from adults, control your emotions, and never introduce deadly force into a non-lethal situation. When prominent figures rush to portray him as a victim or question the jury's verdict despite overwhelming evidence, it perpetrates a dangerous cycle. It undermines the rule of law, disrespects the countless black victims of the same violence who rarely make national headlines or attract celebrity defenders, and keeps entire communities trapped in dependency and resentment. Real progress demands the same standards for every community. Personal accountability, no matter your background, strong two-parent families that instill discipline, respect, and values from an early age, faith-based moral formation, the kind rooted in the Ten Commandments, where thou shalt not kill, is non-negotiable, and human life is sacred. Better conflict resolution skills taught in homes and schools, economic opportunity through work ethic rather than handouts, and full rejection of victimhood narratives that excuse bad choices while demonizing consequences. The fund handling in this case is a microcosm of what happens when those priorities are inverted. Black pastors, fathers, community leaders, and everyday citizens who boldly call out these patterns demand better from within. And prioritize family, faith, self-reliance are the true heroes and path forward. We celebrate achievers like Austin Metcalf, kids grinding on the field, in the classroom, building futures, not those who resort to knives or hide behind excuses. As conservatives rooted in faith and principle, we believe every individual, regardless of background, is made in God's image and capable of rising through responsibility, strong families, and hard work. It's time to stop the excuses, enforce consequences consistently, and rebuild culture where all lives truly matter through virtue, not grievance. Justice was served with Karmelo Anthony's conviction and 35-year sentence. Austin Metcalf received accountability for his stolen life. May this tragedy force deep reflection on the value of every human life, the devastating cost of one impulsive act, the urgent need to strengthen families and culture against violence, the dangers of misplaced priorities, and critical importance of pushing back against divisive narratives that tear us apart and enable more destruction. Pray for the Metcalf family in their ongoing grief. Pray for wisdom, pray for healing, and truth to prevail across our divided nation. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan. Hi, this is Sarah Palin.
Ryan, Donald Trump Jr.
Hogs to win, see ya. Hey, everybody, I want y'all to check out a fellow Marines podcast.
My name is Ted Nugent, and I got a call from my buddy Ryan F. Samuels, and he wants me to tell you that he's a working hard, playing all-American son of a who is celebrating God, family, country.
Welcome to the Ryan Samuels Show, one of the top political podcasts in the United States, where we have a healthy distrust for government and mainstream media. The Ryan Samuels Show is a raw, unfiltered look at American politics. Follow on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, and all podcast platforms. Here is your host, Ryan Samuels.
All right, welcome back to the show. Marcus, I see your comments. I see you cursing me out. I see you calling me a POS. The phone number to call in is 561-786-2916. If you want to call in and have an adult conversation, we can do that. If not, then best of luck to you, sweetheart. I wish you all the luck in the world. So here's some videos of some of these people that are outside of the courthouse that are protested and infuriated that somehow an injustice was served. I don't know who this lady is. She's supporting Karmelo Anthony. She's pushing in on the narrative that somehow injustice was served and that Karmelo Anthony should have just been released freely.
What do you want us to do?
I want you to stop stabbing people because there's a disagreement. I want you to stop resorting to violence over where you're standing or anything. That's what I want.
What do you want us to do at this point? What? I'm lost for words. I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more.
Rest in peace, Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. What are you talking about? The Trayvon Martin case, first of all, it was George Zimmerman, right? Trayvon Martin was walking through a neighborhood. He had a hoodie on. It was late at night. George Zimmerman was on the neighborhood watch. He followed him. We don't know what happened, right? George Zimmerman was armed, legally armed. Trayvon Martin, George Zimmerman's statement was he attacked him, so George Zimmerman shot him, right? I don't know what happened in that case. Neither does this knucklehead. And George Zimmerman was Spanish. He wasn't even a white guy.
Ask you this right now. I hear.
What do you want us to do?
The nonsense that spews out of these people's minds is incredible to me. It's incredible to me. This sentence that Karmelo Anthony got isn't even that bad for what he did. It's not even that bad for what he did. He got 35 years. He's 19. He'll be up for parole in 17 years. He'll be up for parole in 17 years. That's not bad at all for murder. Austin Metcalf will never be alive again. He will never wake up again. He will never breathe again. He will never go to school again. He'll never play football again. He'll never do anything again. And there's no argument that this guy could make that it's self-defense, right? All of the independent witnesses aligned with this story. And we went over this with the opening monologue. But the story is, there's one tent. It's Austin Metcalf's school's tent, right? So they're under it while it rains. This kid from the other school comes over, and they're like, whoa, buddy, you're the competition. We don't want you in our tent. Get out of here. He's like, I'm not leaving. Okay, fine. Everything's fine at this point. Everything is great at this point. Everything is okay at this point. Where it's not self-defense is, number one, the knife, according to the witness statements, according to the camera footage, which has not been released, we haven't seen yet. The knife was in his backpack. It was away from him. So he had to go get it to come back to fight. So he had the backpack on. When I say it was away from him, I don't mean his backpack was like across the place. He went to go get his backpack, came back and stabbed him. No. The knife was basically out of his reach. It wasn't on his hip. It wasn't in his pocket. It was in his backpack. He took his backpack off, stuck his hand in his backpack and said, push me again and see what happens. He antagonized him. That's not self-defense. Self-defense is, I'm under the tent. They're pushing me. I'm trying to leave. They're not letting me leave. I took out my knife and I did what I had to do to save my life. That's self-defense. You can't say, touch me again and see what happens. That's not self-defense. That's premeditated murder. If this guy touches me again, I'm going to kill him. I gave him the warning. I planned it. I'm going to stab him. Granted, he only stabbed him one time, and it just happened to be a really good shot. But he stabbed him directly in the heart, allegedly, which means he penetrated the chest cavity, which is a very hard bone to do. So he must have really laid into it with everything he had. He's a small guy. He's 5'8", 130 pounds. So to try and make the argument that this is self-defense just was never going to fly from day one. He's lucky he got the sentence that he got. He's lucky he has the possibility to get out in 17 years. He's lucky he didn't get the death penalty. This is Texas. Not only he didn't get the death penalty, he didn't get life in prison, and he didn't. He gets out in possibly 17 years. It's probably unlikely that he'll be paroled in 17 years. But 35 years, he's 19. He'll have plenty of life left. Let's listen to this Fox News report.
Protests erupting outside of a Texas courthouse after 19-year-old Karmelo Anthony was sentenced to 35 years in prison for the fatal stabbing of Austin Metcalf at that 2025 high school track meet. Now, following the sentence, Metcalf's father delivered an emotional statement to Anthony. "We were robbed. This was never about race. It is about right and wrong. My son's death destroyed the person I used to be. He does not exist anymore. You're going to prison. I forgave you the day it happened. I don't forgive you. Don't forgive what you did. You can't look at me in the eyes, but you can stab my effing son." Let's bring in Fox News contributor. Protests erupting outside of a Texas court.
Horrible. Because this clown doesn't know how to act and doesn't know how to deal with conflicts. Doesn't know how to deal with conflict resolution at all. Here is too raw, too real on X. Let's watch this. Let's watch this video. Just hear this nonsense and this rhetoric that is out here.
Why Austin felt so comfortable putting his hand on Karmelo, even though Karmelo has set a boundary, is because white people still see us as their property. Oh, yeah.
We still see you as your property. Okay. I don't understand that one.
Even though we're not in slavery, they still look at us as their property, honey. The fact that we even want to set up a boundary, to them, that's us having audacity for trying to have bodily autonomy. And we already know Caucasians are curious creatures. So they're going to test the limits. They're going to poke the bear. They're going to push the button. And they're going to...
We're creatures. We're different. We're animals. That's what I took from that. How about you? Did you take that from that?
Cross the line every damn time. And it's always going to start off small as a little microaggression, like mispronouncing your name, not calling you by your title. Then all of a sudden it starts to get physical. And even though they put their hands on us first, even though they pressed our buttons first, we will always be seen as the aggressor. We will always...
Well, you can't kill people that press your buttons. That's not how the world works. You can't kill somebody because they shove you. You can't kill somebody because they tell you to get out of their tent. Should they have said that? No. Probably not. I would argue that Austin Metcalf should have just friggin' whatever. Who cares if the guy's sitting there? But they're teenagers. They do stupid stuff. That's what teenagers do.
Be the villain, not the victim. Because let me tell you why. Because being black and existing is a form of resistance to these white supremacists. Every system that they set in place was meant for us to fail, but yet we have prevailed. We still find joy, even though we're faced with injustice. We still find hope when things are hopeless. Let me say this in closing to any Caucasians watching this. Like a bow, I don't care how far you try to pull us back and back and back. The kinetic energy in the black community will always propel us forward.
I don't think you've really done that great of a job since the Emancipation Proclamation. I'm just saying. Or since the Civil Rights Movement ended, which you made incredible strides. The Civil Rights Movement is awesome. I love the history. I love everything about it. African Americans were absolutely oppressed in this country following the Civil War. Let's watch this video.
I'm gonna go ahead and say the shit that y'all scared.
I'm gonna push you if I get close enough. Push you right into that crane. Push you right into that crane. You heard what I said, cracker. Neanderthal, I don't give a fuck what you say. Fuck you, cracker. Fuck you, cracker. Fuck you, cracker.
We gotta get out of the road.
Let's get out of the road, please. Get out of the road, please. You still a cracker? You still a cracker? You a cracker, motherfucker. You a cracker. You a cracker.
That's not racism? Threatening to kill him, I'm going to push you in that grave? That's not problematic?
You a cracker, you a cracker. You a cracker, you ain't going to get me, cracker. They've been trying to get me, cracker. You ain't going to get me, cracker. Cracker, you ain't. I'm going to push you if I get close enough. Push you right in.
I'm going to push you if I get close enough. Push you right in that grave. What a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace. Hey, Michelle. Welcome here. Appreciate you tuning in. But that's what I'm talking about. There's no accountability for that guy making threats and being racist. There's a white guy out there doing that and yelling at a group of black people. His face would be plastered all over CNN. They'd ruin his job, ruin his career. They would be right to do that because if he said those things and threatened to kill them based on the color of their skin, he's completely wrong. And it should be handled. Because we should not tolerate that. But we shouldn't tolerate it on any side of the spectrum. Ever. From anybody. Let's listen to this ABC report. Now, there's a lot of people on. So thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Don't forget to drop a comment, like, share, subscribe, follow the show. It's a good show. If you're on Apple Podcasts listening, thank you. I think our show yesterday, we had about 10,000 downloads. So I really want to get that number up. Number one city was actually Toledo, Ohio, because we've been covering that shooting in Toledo. But for all the people that are new here, I generally don't watch the videos. I go through X, I find a bunch of really popular videos on the subject matter I'm going to discuss, and I give you a genuine reaction. So sometimes I load up a video and watch it, and there's really nothing to it, and I'm like, oh, that was a waste of time. But I don't want to have pre-scripted things for you. I want you to have a genuine reaction, a genuine response to what I'm seeing as you see it.
A 19-year-old high school track star now accused of fatally stabbing a 17-year-old from a rival team during a track meet. The case now sharply dividing the community. And here's Morgan Norwood.
Tonight, day one in a trial that has deeply divided a Dallas suburb and made national headlines. Karmelo Anthony, now 19, charged with first-degree murder in the stabbing death of 17-year-old fellow athlete Austin Metcalf after a confrontation at a track meet last year.
Can you be en route to the stabbing? Kirkendall Stadium press box. It's going to be a student athlete.
Prosecutors called it a sneak surprise attack, showing the jury grainy surveillance of the bleachers where it all happened that rainy morning after Anthony sat under a tent belonging to Metcalf's team. Austin's twin brother Hunter was there.
He started getting aggressive and talking reckless. And my brother stepped in and said, you need to move. And he's like, make me move.
And prosecutors say when Metcalf tried moving Anthony, he pulled out a knife. Metcalf's last words, "I've been stabbed," before he died in his brother's arms. But Anthony's defense arguing he acted in self-defense, reacting in a split second of fear, chaos, saying after he defended himself with the knife, he ran. He didn't stab again. He dropped the knife. The case fueling debate and racial tension. Metcalf's father has insisted.
This is ABC. The case is not fueling debate and racial tension. The case is not doing that. The idiots on the left are. What's racist about it? Could you imagine if Austin stabbed Karmelo? And what would the reports be then? In this exact identical situation, would this be a poor white kid, Austin Metcalf? Identical situation. Just switch the people. Or would all these same idiots be pushing the narrative about how this white supremacist kid murdered this black kid? The whole news is fake. Like, everything is fake. The world isn't real. The stories you've been told, they're not real. Most of the history in your history books is not real. Think about it. Who writes the history books? The people who win the wars or lose the wars? Are the people who win the wars going to say that, hey, we were wrong about that? Or are they going to make it out to be that they were right? That's just one example. Once you kind of escape that matrix and you pop the bubble, your head will crack in half. You can't trust anything or anybody. Well, let's listen to more ABC.
It's not about race. Both families have faced threats.
To the family who experienced the loss, my heart truly goes out to you. We believe in legal process, and that is where the truth will come out.
Tonight, one civil rights organization voicing outrage that there are no black jurors deciding Anthony's fate.
And David, Karmelo Anthony was 17 at the time. He is being tried as an adult. If convicted, he faces 5 years up to life in prison. David?
Morgan Norwood reporting. Morgan, thank you.
I think they showed him a lot of grace with the 35-year sentence. He is very young. It is very stupid what he did. He has been found guilty. He will serve out this sentence. Allegedly, they don't have any money left for appeals because his mama spent it on an Escalade and some other things, from what we're being told. Here is, listen to this, Yahoo.
It showed very clearly that a black boy was allowed, not one black soul on a jury.
So what? Are white people not capable of being decisive? Are they not capable of cognitively processing situations? Are they not capable of that? Are they not capable of being fair and equitable and just? You know, how many black people are in the community where the crime occurred? Do you not believe that just because they're white, they're not his peers? They're not people of the community? Do you believe that black people are in a separate community? Or Indian people are in a separate community? What if it was an Asian person and it was an all-white jury? Or what if it was an all-Asian jury? Would you accept that? Or would you only accept an all-black jury? It's an irrelevant argument to me. But this is how they look at society. All white people are racist. All white people are white supremacists. Every last one of them. Because the big voodoo man is in the closet, and he's coming to get you.
An all white jury convicted him in 2 to 3 hours.
That's because it was so obvious it wasn't self-defense. That's because all of the witnesses corroborated the events as to what happened, that it was not self-defense, that he killed him. He could have left. I'm not saying he had to have, or even that he should have. He could have. If you have the opportunity to leave and you're no longer in danger and you choose to stay and place yourself in the danger, then say, if you do something dangerous to me, I'm going to stab you. That's not self-defense. You have a moral right to retreat if you can. If it's reasonable. Was the request to leave the tent reasonable? It's not his tent. It's not his team. It's the other school's tent. Why would you even go there? It's a sporting event. You know, if I'm at a New York Ranger game, I'm not going to go sit with the Islanders in their tent, even though there wouldn't be a tent, with my Ranger jersey on. They're going to say, get the hell out of here. Or the Yankees and Mets, or Red Sox and Mets, Jets and Giants. You know, I mean, it's a tragic story. Is it? Should he have died for being there? No. But the second the altercation came up, he should have left, not kill. If he could have, if he tried to leave and they wouldn't let him leave, and then he did it. But you can't take your backpack off, reach in your backpack, pull out a knife, and stab somebody. It's just not there. It does not meet the criteria. And a black jury or white jury, I don't think it would have made a difference. Not in this case.
We know that they did not prove their case. They are currently sentencing Karmelo Anthony, but we know that the Next Generation Action Network put the first $10,000 towards an appellate attorney. And we will fight Collin County like hell. I respected this process. I allowed and called for peace in this process.
You allowed peace? That's an interesting choice of words, sir. You allowed it. He allowed peace. Otherwise, there would be trouble. We know that. Where are the riots? Are they coming?
But Black America should be very upset about what went on today. Now, before all of the internet lawyers and before all of the interpretation of the situation, I'm only an advocacy leader. I'm not an attorney. I can only help families be able to navigate these processes.
Processes. You went on this whole rant about how he's not guilty, about how the evidence suggests that he's not guilty. Then you turn around and say, well, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer either. I took my LSATs, got accepted to law school, just never went. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm not arguing a case in front of a judge. I'm giving a political opinion. You're a community leader. You can do the same thing. You can even be objectively wrong like you are. At least man up to it.
When they find themselves in this type of situation, I can only allow lawyers to be what they are, lawyers. I can't instruct them. I can't stop them from doing anything. I have to respect the process just like anybody else. But what we saw today was flawed, unjust, and I ask that the community continue to pray for the Anthony family. I do not speak for them, but I know that the Next Generation Action Network will be here as support. My heart hurts right now because
you don't give a crap about this kid, dude. You're just out here with your head up, trying to be the next Jesse Jackson. You're in it for yourself, clearly, is what I'm seeing right now. If anybody else thinks differently, let me know.
Ignorance of the law was done here today. Clear. We posted the jury instructions. And right now, what we are seeing is a travesty. It lets us know that black lives do not matter in the criminal justice system. It lets us know that we are
Did Austin Metcalf's lives matter?
Not going to be afforded the same laws as anybody else. And I give a damn about nobody that feels like I'm playing the race card here. For 400 years, our people have been at the liberty and have had to suffer at the liberty of these laws. I'm speaking facts.
400 years? Okay. Are you still slaves?
Because that blood of slavery is in my blood, not your blood.
Can you trace your ancestry back to an actual slave? Or do you just say that just because you're black? That doesn't mean your ancestors were actually slaves. Your ancestors could have came over 50 years ago from Kenya and had babies. And now you're a second generation American who has zero genealogy towards slavery. Not every last American citizen who is an African American can trace themselves back to slavery. I'm Irish. Plenty of Irish slaves in history. I can't trace back to them, so I don't deserve any reparations. I don't deserve any leeway for what happened to people that weren't related to me, that I didn't know, that weren't in my lifetime hundreds of years ago. That's not how it works.
And it's not for you to look at me and say, I'm playing the race card. I'm just a black man living in America. The fact supports that.
That's the only true thing you said, that you're a black guy living in America.
You say I'm upset? Hell yeah, I'm upset. I respected this process, but we're going to fight like hell to make sure that Collin County know that Karmelo Anthony is not going to go away. I want to thank all of the people who traveled across this country, to all of the media's community supporters and people who have taken Karmelo Anthony as their own baby. I salute you. I thank you. And we got work to do. Thank you and God bless.
Let me get in front of the mic. Let me play the old race card. Let me actually talk about the race card, about how I'm not playing it. And let me go ahead and blame everybody else but the person who did it. Sounds like a community leader to me. That's precisely what it sounds like. It sounds like nothing different than a community leader. Here is CNN. A shocking verdict. A shocking verdict. This is not shocking. Anybody who's been following this, anybody who knows anything about anything can tell you this is not a shocking verdict. This is the predicted outcome. This actually shows that it was fair, it was just, it was equitable, because if it were my kid, I would be pissed he got 35 years. I would want him to have the death penalty, which he didn't get because he was a minor. But they also didn't give him 50 years. They gave him a second chance at life. Let's listen to this CNN report. This should be stellar.
Karmelo Anthony said, well, push me. See what happens then. And he pushed him. And that is when Karmelo Anthony rummaged through his bag, took out a knife, and the jury has determined that when that knife went into the chest of the victim, Austin Metcalf, that was murder. And there was
Yes. Push me. Then he pushes him. Then he turns around, reaches in his bag, and then stabs him. That is not self-defense. That's not self-defense. I mean, that shove wasn't lethal. It has to be a lethal action. You have to be actually in legitimate fear of your life. He was not in fear of his life. He was looking for an excuse to kill him. That's why I brought the knife. He's probably been going around antagonizing people to try to get him to do it, and then he finally found somebody who would do it. The jury has found, no, that's just a common person would find that. If you don't find that not self-defense, I don't know what to tell you. You need a brain transplant. You need to fix everything in your life.